looking at Herman's 60 card pile out of the weekend, some straight Fire Kings, Centurions, and a few other goodies out of the YCS. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. This came down from Herman. They were playing this build during the YCS, and just kind of looking at how the YCS went for some of these interesting concoctions. I mean, the winning list was literally Bestial Runic, of all things. Like, that's something you've got to consider. I mean, you had Runic Generator. So this was the weekend of ideas, especially with how the format has kind of developed right now. There are all kinds of ways for you to mess around with ideas. And of course, the recent release of, some free little Fire King cards for you to add into the Fire Toolbox. Yes, we're still missing Bonfire along the way, but I think that's fine. It's one more card that the deck would absolutely love to have for it, but if you looked back at the feature match for this, the end board was actually insane. Also, I just want to say, the King Sarcophagus getting free stupid discard fodder off of, Volcanic Shell into Volcanic Shell into Volcanic Shell, while, you're loading down all of your friends here for free, setup. Yeah, it is actually kind of cool. So basically this deck wants to utilize, obviously the Horus package, the Volcanic stuff to kind of set up, reload, or, the Blaze Accelerator for additional deck thinning. And you kind of go down the sublines of, okay, so we have the Fire Kings, you have Flamber's Dragon to set up. It's how many boss monsters / negates can you access with something like Lord, the Assembled Robin as well. I mean, do you want to set up an Assembled Nightingale as well? The possibilities are only limited by how bad you can brick on the idea behind this deck. And I really, really honestly like that. So, honestly, if you're looking at something fun to play, give this a shot or try to innovate it and see what you can do. Next up here, we have a lot of, and I mean a lot of Fire Kings, and, man, what is it with our poor little Rise Heart? Always just getting tossed into these decks is the little search fodder for fire. It's a free little pump off of this along the way. So this is our Fire King list out of the event. Honestly, there were a lot of these. Honestly, you are still in the very early stages of Fire Kings, which means a lot of people are going to be looking at a lot of ways to try to innovate the deck and try to figure out the optimal ratios right now. And with how the TCG absolutely loves the crap out of Fenrir, I feel like Fenrir is going to be sticking around a lot more just because it's the pseudo engine. I mean, it toggles on up into something, more devastating, something pseudo along the way, and then you just kind of push along with the rest of the Fire King stuff. Now, obviously, once Ponix and friends do come out, you will see this deck undergo a rapidly crazy evolution. And I think we'll see where that comes. Also, this deck gets to take full advantage of skill drain, which honestly turns it into a lot scarier of a threat right now. I think a lot of people do underestimate this deck strictly because they're like, hey, it'll be fine, but honestly, the Fire King stuff's throwing big monsters at you left and right, and then, they're all resolving because they're graveyard effects. So now you've got to deal with not only that, but, a skill drain leading to some very detrimental situations as well. Also, this build having Super Poly built in for, guess what, your well-rounded 4 fusions that you might actually need for whatever situation that might occur. So, good stuff to actually see this doing well. Also a 2-2 split here on the Fire King stuff. So, I like what I'm seeing. Absolutely amazing. Next up here, we have Stand Up Centurion. To be honest with you, a lot of this Centurion stuff has been kind of hit or miss as of late. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's linear garbage, don't play the deck. It did top the event. Like, this is a very real thing that did occur. All right, and, if you're going to try to discount this because of that, I feel like you're doing something wrong here. Also, do keep in mind that your biggest points here are probably going to be the good old Horus package. Also, the Horus stuff gives you pretty much immediate access to, your free level 12 lines out here, because, good old Premier is your tuner, plus, one of these, you're off to the races. And then, you can leave the Imseti or the Hoppy, whichever one, up and running. That way you've got your interruption or, whatever free advantage tree that you want to set up and mess around with. Now, this is interesting. We actually see deck lockdown down here as a tech choice. Now remember, neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them, and the monsters cannot be special summoned from the main deck. That's actually a crucial extra line of text on this card, because this actually shuts your opponent off, especially in your Unchained matchup out here. I really like this a lot. I think a lot of people are... maybe we need to bring more emphasis back to deck lockdown out here as one of those cards that can actually help you out in today's meta. So absolutely good stuff. Next up here, we have our good friends out here at the Vanquish Soul department. And, I'm going to be honest with you. It's kind of cool to see what is going on with this deck. It feels kind of figured out also. I mean, we've only been seeing, the one Vanquish Soul Kaiser Varius sticking around for a majority of things. And then, of course, there it is. This has been the little saucy tech trends that we've seen kind of pushing around out here. It's because of Gizmek Uka right now. Because Uka gets the ability to special summon something whose attack equals its defense from the deck. And that's where you actually see, your choice of which barrier statue, is going to come up between light and fire. I do like to mention water as a little bit of a side option. It is a lot more on the side than it really should be at this point in time, but I think it does give a little bit to be desired, at least in terms of, the ideas. So, gotta love also, the Fire Barrier statue and light. I honestly think light is a little bit more detrimental along some of these anti-combo lines, but either way, incredibly good to still see what we're messing around with out here. Also, this card is stupid good. I cannot tell you how many times that I've been sacked by, Snow Devil, and you're just like, oh, okay, yep, good stuff. Next up here, Impulse and the Fire Attacker. I have found that this engine has been kind of showing back up. If you remember today's earlier video, we did see the fact that this was a sided package in another one of the builds, which kind of makes you look around and go, we're actually back to doing this? Yes, we are, because this thing tributes itself when a monster effect goes off. You special summon the machine, Fire Attacker, and then if your opponent basically does something, you get a free draw 2, discard 1. And that literally sculpts your hand. That's like the most insane part of all of this. The setting up of the resources, and then, oh, well, I'll go ahead and, we can potentially hit one of these other stupid cards along the way, or hit like a key fusion play along the way. Yes, this little package inclusion in the deck changes a lot of the dynamic that you might necessarily have been considering, at least for tier at this point in time. So once again, I like what we're seeing. Innovative tech choice. I mean, I don't even know if I'd really consider this really innovative at this point, but it does showcase, some of the interesting ideas that you can kind of spin into this deck and go, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm kind of digging this. What more can we do? And then we also have some Labyrinth for you. Now, honestly, a lot of these Labyrinth lines aren't, they feel pretty straightforward. I guess one of the biggest deck choices I see here out of this is actual Called by the Grave. I guess Droll Nightmare, whatever hand trap you're afraid of, Ash Blossom, just go ahead and cut it off. Easy, snip, snip, no problem. All right, and then, of course, the Labyrinth Fields. I almost want to consider this a tech choice at this point in time for how much people toss this card into the dumpster, and they're like, hey, it's doing something. It's still good. It's just, it really depends on your matchup. And then, of course, pick your flavor of traps, for, your one-ofs that you want to set out here for your tech choices. But outside of that, honestly, a lot of diversity was present across the board with a lot of the different decks out of this weekend. I think that's good. I think when you have as many ideas as this kind of floating around in your meta, different ideas showcase the potential for why this meta is good. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.